I'm Gabriel, and this is Black Force Comics Weekly Review, Episode 27. This is my bodyguard, Deadpool. He might explain to you what happened to last week's episode, but he can't. It was a whole time paradox thing. Everything got wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, and just know that the world is safe, but we missed an episode, and so now we're picking back up this week with Episode 27. So we're going to talk about the comics that came out last week, and what's coming out this week, and some other news that happened while we were gone. Let's get started with last week's comics. First up, Predator, Life and Death issue number 1. This is going to be from the aspects of the United States United States Colonial Marines. What are they called? Somebody who knows them more than I do. United States Colonial Marine. I had it. United States Colonial Marine Corps. They are going to a planet that some company has hired them to go find if it's got resources on it. And these resources are apparently being pilfered by some other company. And so this company hired the Marine Corps to go with them and to find whatever company is there and to stop them. Well, as they get there, they find that the Predators are there. And they killed the other company. They find the other company ship there all shot up and everything. They killed a couple of the Marines. And that's what happens. They find one survivor. And that's where the comic kind of ends. They find the Predator ship. And that's the end of issue number 1. So we'll find out what happens next in issue number 2. Next up, another number 1, Army of Darkness, Furious Road, issue number 1. Ash is taking on this whole Furious Road, Mad Max vibe to him. It's taking place outside of S-Mart. That's right, S-Mart. So it's in the future, and the Deadites have taken over the world, and there's a few survivors that band together, and there's a group of survivors, some that he's met in previous issues and previous Army of Darkness comic books, that they're going to find Ash hidden or taking shelter in this S-Mart, and they go to him because they need to get the book of the Necronomicon to send the demons back. And Ash is like, no, I'm not going to give it to you, and so they knock him out. End of the issue. So yeah, it's a really, I've always enjoyed all the Army of Darkness stuff that comes out. I'm a big Ash fan. Yeah. So check it out. Army of Darkness, Furious Road, issue number 1. It's going to be a short run series. Save him as a Predator. All right, next up, Midnighter number 10. You know I'm a big Valiant fan and I love all the older stuff, and Midnighter is one of those crossovers into DC. And he's been kind of, a BA. He's kicked everyone's butt. He has this power for the God Gardener power where he can see stuff and calculate things faster than anyone else, and he moves faster than anyone else. So he's been kind of a presumptuous jerk about everything he does. He's like, I can beat anyone up. And this is the second issue number 9. He started fighting the Suicide Squad. And issue number 10 here, they managed to beat him up because they're using Parasite. That and Deadshot, not Will Smith Deadshot, but the real Floyd Lawton Deadshot. He's in here, and Midnighter breaks his hands. It's amazing. Amanda Waller calls Deadshot the B-Team. He gets his feelings all hurt, and he tries to take on Midnighter. Midnighter's breaking out of his chains, and he's beating up all the Suicide Squad military people again, and he's about to get out, and Harley Quinn sees him breaking out. He's, oh, Leatherman! Because that's just Harley Quinn's character. And then Parasite is there, and Midnighter gets shot by Floyd Lawton, by Deadshot, does manage to shoot him, and he's not healing. And Harley Quinn's explaining, well, it's because Parasite here is taking your power. You should have got he's attaching onto your Wi-Fi and stealing your Wi-Fi. You should have got to change your password. So Parasite ends up beating up Midnighter and taking his powers, and they knock him out again, and then they tie him all up again. At the very end of the comic, they're tossing him out of a plane. So what's going to happen to Midnighter? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out. It was fun to see someone actually beat Midnighter. It's not very often you see him get beat. Not that I want him to get beat. He's a cool character. I like him. But it's good to see someone get beat every now and then. Sometimes you need it. All right. Next up, Green Lantern number 50. Right now, DC's hitting all of their number 50 comics, and they're big milestone comics, big event-changing comics. A lot of the writers are moving to a different comic. Scott Snyder, who's currently doing the Batman run, which I've really, really enjoyed. Issue number 50 is going to be his last one. Anyway, let's get back on track here. Green Lantern number 50. This finds Hal Jordan back on Earth with his brother and his nephew and niece and his sister-in-law. And they're celebrating his nephew's birthday. And Hal Jordan feels kind of bad because, you know, he feels like he let his nephew get injured. Now his nephew's stuck in a wheelchair. His brothers all don't feel like that. As a father, you always want to protect. You know, from a father standpoint, this was a very good issue. There's been a couple of good issues that came out. I'll just hit on it real quick. Batman and Robin Eternal. Another good issue. It's not in our list that we're going over this week, but real quick, if you haven't read the Batman and Robin Eternal stuff, read it. This week's issue was really good. It kind of gave you the reason behind Batman's training all these Robins. He wasn't creating an army. He wasn't creating soldiers. He was creating Robins who can rise to their own occasion and do their own things. So it's really cool. So anyway, back to Green Lantern number 50. Hal Jordan is there in Coast City with his nephew and kind of just thinking about these things, how he could have changed things. And his brother says, don't worry about it. And then Hal Jordan, Parallax from, oh my gosh, from that series where he became Parallax. Ghost City was destroyed and he tried to rebuild it. That Hal Jordan shows up and he's like, my family, it's me, it's Hal Jordan. And Hal Jordan's like, get away from my family, you weirdo. And then he's like, but I feel that you're me. And he says, you know, I've fought doppelgangers before and all these other clones and things, but I feel you and you have my memories, but I can help you. And then that Hal Jordan turns into Parallax and he's all like, I don't need your help. I can save Coast City. It'll all be mine. And so he starts beating up Hal Jordan. This is getting confusing, so I'll say Parallax instead of Hal Jordan. So Parallax starts beating up Hal Jordan, and Hal Jordan's like, and then he says, I got the power! And he uses the ring gauntlet that he has and just becomes this construct himself. It's a very powerful construct, scares Parallax away. Parallax literally takes off from the planet. Like, I'll come back with more power and defeat you. And then Hal Jordan now goes to his brother, something's wrong with me. And he's a construct and he can't change back. He tries changing back and he just turns right back into a construct. So it was really cool because he's not even sure of the power that he has with the gauntlet. And so he's really testing it now and seeing that maybe it's not always a good thing. All right, so that was Green Lantern number 50. Next up, Standoff Assault on Pleasant Hill Alpha number 1. Now this is going to be what is the number 1 leading into this huge story arc crossover of all these different Avengers standoff things. There's a checklist in the back of every issue that ties into the Avengers attack on Pleasant Hill thing. If you recall from our last episode, I believe it was 25, we had the Avengers standoff Welcome to Pleasant Hill one shot, and that explained to what Maria Hill was doing on Pleasant Hill and how the villains on Pleasant Hill were coming to the realization, you know what, we're being duped. And so this is finding Bucky Barnes teaming up with Steve Rogers, saying Maria Hill is getting one over on you, and Sam Wilson teaming up with Rick Jones. And Rick Jones is telling the same thing to Sam Wilson that Bucky Barnes is telling to Steve Rogers. And they both agree, well, all 4 of them agree separately that they need to go find out what's going on. And so Steve Rogers finds Maria Hill, or Maria Hill finding Steve Rogers, and her taking him to Pleasant Hill to see that, oh, it's okay. And that little girl that we showed you last time from the attack on Pleasant Hill, or Welcome to Pleasant Hill, that little girl, that powerful little girl, is actually the cosmic cubes put together, became a living entity, and they manifested into a little girl. And so, yeah, she's the one that's causing all the villains to have this distorted vision of who they are. And she brings out the goodest part of them, and that's what they see, and that's who they act as there on Pleasant Hill. But then all of a sudden the poop hits the fan, things go out of hand, and the villains start showing up, and they've managed to hack the code. The Fixer helps Zemo and some other people, and so now Baron Zemo is attacking while Steve Rogers is there, because they were waiting for Steve Rogers to get there, and he's there. And so the villains are on full attack. Steve Rogers called the Avengers, so the Avengers are going to be coming. Who knows who else is going to be coming? Maybe the X-Men, maybe not. It'd be like 5 different X-Men and 5 different Avenger teams. Marvel, another issue for another day, man. Come on. Anywho, so that's Standoff Alpha number 1. All right, so next up, finally, our kids issue for this week. Avengers Assemble Season 2, issue number 1, Civil War. So if you watch the cartoon's been a really good series so far. And with this one, it finds Captain America leaving the Avengers because he can't trust Tony as a leader. He was asked to get rid of Ultron, to literally get rid of him, to destroy him. They went to go find Ultron. They went to attack him. And Tony Stark did not have it in him to get rid of him because it was his father's creation. And at the end of this issue, Captain America's like, that's it. I'm gone. I'm not an Avenger anymore. Keep in mind, this is for a kid show, kid series that they show on TV, so it can't have the exact same storyline as the Civil War that we all know and grew to love originally. So it's a little bit different, a little take on it, but it's a good take. Take some time to read it. Share it with your kids if you want them to understand the whole division and real life thing, that stuff happens, but you make up for it. That's something good to get them on. So let's talk about next week's comics. We got some good comics coming up next week. We're only going to hit on a couple that are coming up. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. issue number 3. This has been a really good series so far. I enjoy the show, and I've really been enjoying the comic series. Even before the reboot, up to the reboot, after the reboot, up to issue 2, where he was with that lady from the TV show and they totally killed her. It's been really good. Also, all new Wolverine issue number 6. So this is finding Laura now broken up with... I'm at a loss of names. With Warren. Warren, the Archangel, has broke up with her. And he's like, I can't be with you like this. I can't watch you die all the time. And this was in one of the Avengers, or I'm sorry, one of the X-Men issues. So it's going to probably cross over. I'm presuming. I don't know for sure yet. I haven't read it yet. Amazing Spider-Man number 9, the poor man's Tony Stark. Another cool one for kids is coming out, Baker Street Peculiars. Now what this is, it's a bunch of kids in Victorian England following Sherlock Holmes in all of his events. So that's going to be a cool kid story. If you want to get your kids started on something mysterious and a Sherlock Holmes-ish, that'll be a good one to get them started on, Baker Street Peculiars. Batman Superman number 30, also this is going to be coming to a change here soon. Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 4. This is only a 6-part series, so we're a little bit more than halfway. Issue number 4 is coming out. Catwoman, which, I wish more people would read it. It's a really good series. Detective Comics number 50 is coming out, which has also been a great run. Dirk Gently, A Spoon Too Short number 2. Now this series finds Dirk Gently a little bit older, a little overweight. It happens to the best of us. You get older, you get a little bit overweight, and you start to lose touch with some of the things you used to do. So it's him trying to get back in the groove of being the holistic detective that he was. Donald Duck number 11 for all you Disney fans out there. Disney Princesses number 1. It's a new series of all the Disney princesses going on adventures, and they might be together, they might be separate, but it's going to be good for kids, and especially girls. Haunted Mansion, another Disney series. I don't know what it is with all these Disney comics coming out, but Haunted Mansion number 8. That's right, the Haunted Mansion, the ride that's at the Disney theme park, is actually getting its own comic book series. So that's going to be coming out. I don't know if Eddie Murphy's going to be in it. I don't know. I can't answer that. Heroes Godsend number 1. That's also a story arc branch off of the Heroes TV show, which the comic was better than the TV show. I expected more out of it. I'm sorry. Also a new Marvel story, because we needed more Marvel stories to grab onto. Infinity Entity. It's going to have to do with the Infinity Stones, which I'm a big fan of. I love the whole story of Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and the power that it holds. So this Infinity Entity, it's a 4-part story. Issue number 1 is coming out this Wednesday. Also, Mars Attacks. If you remember that old movie, Mars Attacks Occupation, issue number 1. It's going to be a 5-part series. Issue number 1 comes out this Wednesday. Mockingbird number 1 from Marvel comes out. Also last week, Black Widow issue number 1 came out. We didn't talk about it in this week, but it was a good series. It was a good book. Now it's issue number 1. Spider-Man 2099 number 8, which has been a good series. Starfire number 10. Transformers number 50. And Vision number 5 is coming out. I've really been enjoying Vision. Now here's the thing, the key to it is to read it as though you were Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen, the way he kind of perceived time and everything. Read it like that, because it's reading in past tense. So you have to read it like that, and it really, even has the voice. It makes it pretty cool. All right, finally, X-Files, Deviations. It's a one-shot comic putting out, IDW's putting out a whole bunch of one-shots. for Transformers, for X-Files, and it's going to be where the villains won. So that's what this one-shot's going to be about. This X-Files Deviations one-shot is going to be from the villains taking over and how everything has changed in the world. So that concludes the comics that are coming out this week. Let's talk about some news. First up, we just want to get this out of the way right away so we can move on to the lighter stuff. Artist Paul Ryan started working for Marvel in the mid-'80s, recently passed away. He was 62 years old. Also, Nancy Reagan passed away, which is another big deal. But Paul Ryan, because this is a comic book show, Paul Ryan, he worked on Marvel's Fantastic Four. He worked on some of the Avengers stuff. He did a bunch of really cool stuff. A lot of stuff that influenced me growing up as a kid. So it's sad to see him go. So you got to think about this. A lot of the artists and writers, a lot of them are older, and a lot of them are sadly getting to that age. So if you have the opportunity to get to a convention, or if you get to meet them, George Perez, I've met him on 2 different occasions. Once at Dragon Con and once at Texas Comic Con here in San Antonio. And both times I was just giddy inside like a little schoolgirl, and I tried not to, I'm cool, George, how you doing, sir? But to me that's more exciting than meeting, say, some famous actor. The actors aren't going to change my life like these guys who influenced my life would. So it's always cool to meet these people. So if you have that chance, get out to see someone, get out to see these people. They're not going to be around, sadly, much longer. Okay, so moving on. Sony has released this week that they are going to greenlight a Venom movie because, well, I hope it's just not a knee-jerk reaction to Deadpool doing so well. They're like, oh, let's make everything R-rated and release it. Because that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good. So Venom as an R-rated movie could work if they do like Lethal Enforcer or something like that, where he's actually the good guy. It might work. Also, secondly, Zendaya has been cast into Spider-Woman as somebody. Or not Spider-Man, it's Spider-Man, I'm sorry, the standalone Spider-Man movie that's coming out where he's a teenager or in high school. Zendaya has been cast into that movie. What role she's going to play, I don't know. If you don't know who Zendaya is, she was in Disney's Shake It Up. I have a little girl, and so I watched all of Zendaya stuff throughout the past, I don't know, 10 years or so. So I've kind of seen her grow and blossom as an actor. She was also in Dancing with the Stars. Third, let's see. If you watch The Walking Dead, if you watch this past Sunday, there's a quick glimpse of Johnny Depp's head sculpt. That's right, when they were picking out a zombie head to be Gregory's head, one of those heads was Johnny Depp. So why don't you go back, check it out, and see which one you think it is. Really, once you look at it, you'll say like, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? It's Johnny Depp. All right. And lastly, Supergirl, the TV show, has been greenlit for a second series, or a second season. I've really enjoyed this show. It's been what I expected Superman movie to be. A very lighthearted, getting back to that Christopher Reeves, Richard Donner type-esque Superman that I grew up as a kid and loved. So I really enjoyed the Supergirl show, and it's an emotional show, and it's got ups and downs to it, so it's not just all giddy happiness. It's got real life aspects to it. So that concludes the news for this week. Let us know what you're reading. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Also, don't forget to stop by the shop and pick up your tickets to see Batman vs. Superman. We still have a few tickets left. It's going to be for March the 24th at Creekside Theater in New Braunfels, Texas. The tickets are $15, and it includes a swag bag for each ticket holder with over $20 worth of merchandise in that bag. So you're like getting an awesome free bag and, I don't know, seeing a movie as well. It's really cool. So we're also going to be having raffles and trivia before the movie, so try to get out there a little bit earlier. But that concludes it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.